Hello guys, I shoot gameplays, I'm Fabio Pisco, and today we have the second questions and answers video of this channel. The last one was like 4, 5, maybe 6 months ago, I can't really remember, but it was like a long time ago, and this time we're having a new one. All the questions come from a post on my community tab like 4 days ago, so if you want to watch the post, just go to my YouTube channel, community posts, and watch the post. But well, what I mean with this is that I will be reading the questions from my brother's smartphone. So what may happen is that the smartphone app may not read all the community comments like happened before, but well, let's hope not. So let's go to the first question. Is it possible to achieve RX 580 stock performance by overclocking the RX 570? Okay, we have 14 answers on this, which is great, guys. Really, thanks a lot for answering and helping each other. And the first one is probably, if not a high clock RX 580 like Sapphire, as I've seen someone doing 1400 MHz core on the RX 570, which usually sits at 1244 MHz. Most of all, this is a nice question, and well, what I can tell you is that yes, it is possible to achieve. For example, if you have an RX 570, if you overclock it to, let's say, 1400 MHz, like said before, and like I had my RX 570, you will get a pretty damn nice performance boost, and it will reach stock RX 580 clocks, let's say 1300 MHz. So RX 570 at 1400 MHz with a bit of VRAM overclocking will reach, in fact, let's say RX 580 1300 MHz clocks. If 1400 MHz clocks, then no, but most of all, they will be within, both overclocked, they will be within, let's say, 10% margin of error, 10% performance from each other's. What would you recommend to people like me to upgrade their system from an old platform / graphics card? What do you think of the CPU / GPU market? It is worth to buy a new GPU under 200-300 range or buy used ones. What cards would you buy new? Nvidia? AMD doesn't matter? Okay. How are your family and of course you? And what content are you planning in the future? I would love to see more workout videos. Okay, these are a lot of questions, a lot. But well, I'll try to answer them. So, what would you recommend to people like me to upgrade their system for an old platform / graphics card? Okay, that's really hard to know because I don't know the rest of your build. But well, since you asked after this, for example, what I think about used cards and new cards, if you have an old platform, just stick with buying used cards. Second-hand cards, third-hand, fourth-hand, doesn't matter. Buy used cards. Because the price value, the price performance value, in this case the ratio in used cards is a lot higher. And if you're already using an old platform, you might as well buy a used card because, well, a new card won't be that much difference, and for the same price you can get something a bit better. Now Mr. Sino, I would appreciate a screenshot of your CRU settings. For people who don't know what CRU is, Jesus, my first video today is really hard. What CRU is custom resolution utility. You can overclock or downclock you don't want to downclock, but you can overclock your monitor or create custom resolutions using that, okay? So, here it is, my settings. If you want my profile, just go to the link in the description. Why is my target DRAM speed not changing when I change my DRAM speed? Motherboard, Asus, Maximus, 8 in this case, 8 Gen. I don't really know because I'm not seeing it in person, nor I'm seeing an image of it. It's really hard to know, but if it isn't sticking, maybe your part simply, your RAM or your motherboard simply can't take that frequency. If they reboot and the settings are the same as you had before, is because maybe the motherboard can take it or the RAM can take it. That's my 2 cents on this. Is RX 5700 XT worth now in 2020? Would you pick an RX 5700 Plus Ryzen 5 3600 or RX 5700 XT with 2600X. It depends actually. If you're playing above 1440p for example, 1440p ultra wide 4K, then the RX 5700 XT plus 2600X is the answer. But well, in my opinion, I would simply pick the 3600 and the RX 5700 non-X, put or flash an XT BIOS on that and overclock the max I could. I would do that personally. Why is my RX 5700 XT Pulse running at max VRAM when my monitor rate is at 75 Hz? Turning it down will solve the issue, but I don't get to experience the additional 15 Hz. Any solution? This is driver related. No doubts on that, because I have the same issue. If you go there and see my settings, you can see that my VRAM frequency is always at max when I use 75 Hz. I use 3440 times 1440p, so 1440p ultra wide, 75 Hz, and the VRAM is always at max frequency. It is kind of a shit, but that's what we have for now. So at least we have better performance and more stability, but we have some downsides like this. Well, we must wait and see the next drivers. Can you show optimal overclock settings for RX 5700 non-XT? Well, I could do it, but I don't really have one of those cards. What I can tell you is that you can, for example, use one of the BIOS you have on your card, flash an XT BIOS and overclock it the max you can. You'll be really close to the XT performance, like 5 to 10%, well, 5% in most cases, yeah, so it's pretty cool. Questions and answers livestream. Well, I could do it if I had decent internet, which I don't, so yeah, not for now at least, maybe in some months. Noise levels of your Sapphire Nitro Plus RX 5700 XT. Well, noise levels, as you can't really see here, but even playing, since it is undervolt, the temps, the temperatures, the noise levels, everything is really low. Even my case fans, I stick them to a static, let's say 800 to 900 RPM, so the build itself is really quiet, and that's how I like it. The thing that does more noise in my build is the HDDs, the hard drive, so you can imagine how quiet my build is. Yeah. I know this is a weird question, but why do you always use Asus motherboards? I mean, MSI has one of the best B450 X570 Element, X570 motherboards. Also, which are your recommended brands when it comes to SSD and gaming peripherals? Actually, just one of my motherboards is from Asus. I have this Asus 570 Strix, the F1. This is my only Asus motherboards. I have other two builds, which have a MSI V350 Tomahawk and an MSI V350 Tomahawk Arctic. So yeah. As for the peripherals and SSDs, I personally like Kingston, Corsair, Samsung, obviously, but I think that in terms of SSD, well, there are pretty good SSDs from like every brand known, Corsair, Kingston, I mean, even Toshiba has some decent SSDs, so yeah. As for the peripherals, I myself am a Logitech man. For example, I bought some weeks ago my Logitech G513, yes, 513. As for my daily driver mouse, I have a Logitech G502, so yeah, I'm a Logitech man. I also like a lot the SteelSeries peripherals, they are pretty nice, and we have some pretty decent brands, cost performance brands, yes, but well, mostly I will go to Logitech every time I can. Hi, which graphics card would you get if you have an RX 588GB for 1080p 144Hz? Max €300 used or new? I was thinking of getting a GTX 1080. I would pick, for example, a really cheap VEGA 56, for example, a GTX 1080 if you can find one quite cheap. And you have many others for 1080p 1440, for 1080p 144 Hz. Yeah, GTX 1080 seems a pretty good choice if you can really find one under 300 euros. Yes. And yes, used. Yeah. Is it good to buy a GTX 1050 or 1080 in 2020? Well, from a GTX 1050 to a 1080, there's a lot of difference. Like the 1080 is like 4 times faster. I'm pulling numbers out of my ass, but 4 times faster than the 1050. So yeah, the 1050 not really worth. You can buy an RX 570 way cheaper and way better than that GTX 1050. As for the GTX 1080, if you can find one under the 300 euros margin, well, it's a good deal. So if you can find one for that price, pick it, why not? Asus motherboard on boot, orange light RAM, red CPU before it boots up. Any ideas? This may actually be, if this is a new build, you may have to upgrade your BIOS before, to update your BIOS, and if you didn't do it, maybe you have a CPU that your motherboard can't really take without an updated BIOS. That may be the issue, or maybe your RAM sticks are simply broken. I don't really know, but I am more pointed to the need to update BIOS. Yeah. Is it possible to have my VEGA 56 a stable goddamn driver? I use LOL for quite some things, but yeah, I wasn't putting or lighting the fire. I wasn't doing that. What I meant is that my drivers are stable, so if yours aren't, maybe you need to, seriously do a clean Windows installation, install the latest drivers like 20.2.2 or 20.4.1, install your motherboard chipset drivers from AMD website, not from your motherboard's website, from AMD website, and you most probably will be fine. And you are saying about Apex Legends, yes, Apex Legends also works fine on my VEGA 56 with the newer drivers. Do you think the next PlayStation and Xbox will have an effect on PC gaming, positive or negative, and why you think so? And thanks for everything you do and keep up the good work, man. Thanks a lot for also being here. As for the consoles, yes, I don't really think that they will have a positive or negative impact. Consoles and PCs are different leagues. Okay, they are different leagues, they are different markets, so one does not affect the other 100% directly. Okay, now we have a comment here, let me just read it. Negative. I did spend 1600 CAD, so I think it is like Canadian dollars, yes, for mid-range PC just to have some wankers spend 500 to have better specs than me with a console. No. No. I guarantee you 100%, 200% if you want to, that consoles will not be better for 500 Canadian dollars, won't be better, never ever in the history of ever, than your $1,600 PC. No, ever. Okay? At least not in the next 3 or 4 years. That won't happen. They will have better cards, but the frequencies will be downclocked, of course, to not surpass the power limits, the thermal limits, and etc, etc. No, that won't happen. So completely different markets, okay? That's my opinion. This guy simply said, laughing my ass off. Because of the image. Red Devil Sapphire Nitro Plus RX 5700 XT, which one do you prefer? Between both Red Devil and Sapphire Nitro, just pick the less expensive one. Both are really damn great, so pick the one that costs less. Is RX 580 better than the RX 570? I have a video on that if you want to see. I guess you want to see, so go to the link in the description. Question 1. I'm thinking about building a new PC and supposedly 4th gen Ryzen will come out in August, September. Is it worth to wait until it launches? It depends on the money you want to expend, on how much do you want to keep your build, to keep your CPU. I'm pretty sure that the CPUs won't launch until September, maybe even later, because due to this COVID-19 shit and whatever. I would pick one now. I would pick, for example, a Ryzen 5 2600 and later upgrade, if possible, of course. Will the B450 motherboard support 4th gen Ryzen? Yes, they will. And it has been confirmed, and they will. The X570 and the B450 will indeed support the 4th gen, yes. Now from Super High Guy Mitch, thanks for being a channel member, by the way. Why don't we see any Microsoft Studio PC games being benchmarked? Yes, I know you asked before the Gears of War 5. I will try to benchmark that game, but I need a new HDD because my HDD for games 2 terabytes is already full, and I bought recently an NVMe of 500 gigabytes for the most important games, and still the HDD is full. So I need to buy like a 4 terabytes one, I guess. I need a bit of an advice. A friend of mine decided to build a gaming PC and he asked me for help. I recommended these components. He's on a tight budget. R5 1600 GB, B450, 8 GB DDR4, RX 580, 4 GB used, Corsair Carbide Spec Delta, blah blah blah. Seems fine to me, just get a decent PSU, and as for the RAM, do not get single channel, do not get only one stick of RAM, get 2 times 4 GB, a decent PSU, and the rest seems pretty damn fine to me. Say you have a budget of 300 to buy a GPU, what would be the best choices on AMD and Nvidia's sites? Considering that I can't buy anywhere except online on websites like Amazon, eBay, etc., with shipping cost $40 or so. Also used or new, doesn't matter. Anything that fits the 300 is okay. Can't buy GPUs locally since they are extremely expensive here. Well, at around 300 used, I would go to GTX 1080, GTX 1080 Ti, let's say a VEGA 64, for example, VEGA 56. New, you can get the GTX 1660 Super. You can get also used in some sites, or maybe new, the RX 500, 5700 non-XT. Later you can flash a BIOS, an XT BIOS, and overclock it. Well, basically that's it. GTX 1080, Ti, non-Ti, RX 570 non-XT, VEGA 56, VEGA 64, new or used. Yeah, basically that's it. Hey, random question, but do you think it is worth upgrading from B450 to X570? I do not need to see the rest of the question. Well, I have a video on that, and I think that will be better for you to see than me telling you personally. But you have this video, and only if because of the PCIe Gen 4, no. If going only for the PCIe Generation 4, no. It simply doesn't matter. Or you are doing really heavy workloads, but if you're gaming, mostly solely gaming, no. PCI Express 4 is still not worth it. I have just seen a video about bottlenecks. I don't understand what the problem is if the CPU or GPU goes near 100%, giving 140 FPS. Isn't that supposed to be what they should do to give us all their power? Why do I want my PC work at half the power? That doesn't make sense, man, because if one of the components, one thing is if both components were at 100%. But when a bottleneck occurs, they are not both at 100%. One of them is at 100% usually, and the other one is at less than that. That's why it is called a bottleneck, because, for example, when we are talking about CPU and GPU, for example, if your GPU can push 100 FPS and your CPU can only push 50, your GPU will be at 50%, because your CPU can't really handle how much FPS the GPU is sending in. That's it. So if both were at 100%, that would be really great, but the bottleneck isn't really that case. It's when just one of them is at 100%. Imagine that your CPU is at 100% and your GPU is giving you 140 FPS. Well, if your CPU wasn't at 100%, maybe you would be having 200 FPS instead of 140. Yes, I think you are understanding it now, yeah. These were the questions of today. Really, thanks a lot for watching this video. If you have any more questions, leave the question in the comment section. Thanks a lot for watching, seriously, and see you in the next one, which will be, yeah, quite great. I'm simply waiting for the store to send back my money from the RX 570 and RX 480, and I can't really find in many stores because the cards new are vanishing, so you can't really get a new one apart from some models. So the RX 570 will be from Sapphire, the RX 580 will be from Power Color Red Dragon version. Thanks a lot guys one more time, and see you in the next video.
Oh,